East Finals MVP last round, it was very clearly going to be either Jason Tatum or Jimmy Butler. This case, it feels like Steph Curry or Jason Tatum, depending obviously on the winner of the series. You look at the odds right there. Curry is even money plus 100, Tatum plus 115 right behind him. Bearded Nick, is there a long shot you like for MVP?
Yeah, I mean, if we're trying to break it down and figure out who's one of those long guys to get it, I'm looking at either Derek White or Marcus Smart. Derek White, of course, the significantly longer shot. But when you look at those two guys, those are guys who, if they're gonna slow down Steph Curry in this series, it's gonna be those two guys that you're gonna be focusing on quite a bit. At least the voters are going to be focusing on too, because that's the other thing we got to keep in mind too. It's not just about player performance. We also got to consider what are the voters like, what do they value in terms of narrative and things like that. So with White, I think if you're looking for a crazy long shot, okay, go for it. But I think Marcus Smart is the better bet of the two because the theatrics with this guy and how he's able to bounce back and everything like that. He has a lot going for him, and I know he just had a rough game. That's where it's like White has been consistent the first two games offensively. Smart is going to have this. I'm expecting to have a bounce back game in game 3. So there's a little bit, you can go either way with these two guys. Smart is definitely the preferred option for me, but those are the two long ones right now.
Whalen, tell me why the answer is Al Horford.
Well, Al Horford, I believe, was 90-1 to win Finals MVP going into Game 1. So I would feel a little dirty, taking him at 10-1 now on the DK Sportsbook if you weren't able to grab him at 90. But I think Nick's on the right track that it has to be somebody with the Celtics. Through 2 games, I am extremely convinced that if the Warriors win the series, it's going to be Steph Curry for a number of reasons. One, he's been more aggressive than we've seen from him in the past on these stage. He's been their best player, clearly. Like, there's really no one else who holds a candle to him through 2 games. And 2, he has the narrative that he hasn't won one yet. I think that's going to work in his favor. Kind of a lifetime achievement, Finals MVP, if you will. That will also likely be deserved. It's not like Klay Thompson has lit the world on fire. Draymond was awful in Game 1. Like, there's just really no one else for Golden State. With Boston, it's interesting that Tatum is still, such a heavy favorite because I thought he was outright awful in Game 1. They still win despite that. He was okay in Game 2, but he's still plus 125. His odds have really not shifted all that much. So there's kind of this belief that if Boston wins the series, it's going to be Jason Tatum. If I had to bet on a long shot, I guess it would be Horford at 10-1, just because there's still that memory of what he did in Game 1. I thought he was their best overall player in Game 1, completely disappeared in Game 2. But let's say they come back and win Game 3 tomorrow night. Al Horford goes for 20 and 15. All of a sudden, that's kind of fresh in the mind again. Like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, those guys need to be a little more consistent. With Horford, all you're looking for maybe is like 2 or 3 standout games. And, maybe he goes off in a Game 7. And if Jason Tatum has had just a good, not great series, potentially there's some kind of recency bias in that result if Horford finishes off the series with a big game. So he's the guy, I guess, I could imagine doing that the most, but it really feels like it's going to be Tatum or Curry.